Mr. Nath is the founder of Kaarma, which is an immense service that I'm not going to try and butcher, and I'm just going to hand that stage over to Mr. Nath. Thank you, Mr. Uj.
Hey, thanks, Dan. Thank you very much, and thanks to Joe and Peter for hosting this. I know a lot of hard work went into this. How you guys doing today? Great? Good, good, good. Hey, listen, before I go forward and start talking about the kind of practices I'm going to preach here, I know this is the first time in front of all of you, so I'll give you a little introduction about myself. How many of you use an electronic parts catalog from Snap-on Business Solutions? Show of hands, please. Well, my last company built it, and Snap-on bought that electronic parts catalog. I was an executive with them for 4 years. When I quit, I actually had a horrible service experience, and it wasn't with a Toyota dealer. It was with a Honda dealer. I owned a Honda Civic Hybrid in LA. And here's what happened. So I made an appointment Monday for Friday, made it electronically, picked a service advisor, picked the fact that it was an oil change, told them I had a coupon, which they had emailed to me, and told them I wanted a shuttle. So that's all pretty standard, right? I show up at the dealership, and of course, Friday morning, bad news, very big Honda dealership in LA. It's really crowded. I meet a different service advisor. She talks to me, gets my stuff, gets my coupon, dispatches me to the shuttle stop. I go back to my office. 8 o'clock, I check in. Noon, no word back from the dealership. So I'm getting a little worried, right? So I call. I say, and the first thing I hear is, "Thank you for calling the name of the dealership. This call will be recorded for quality purposes." And click. Honda Accord 2010 special 0% financing, whatnot. Click. Press 1 for new car sales, 2 for used, 3 for service, 4 for body shop. Well, anyways, I hit 3, ring 6 times, and eventually a gentleman picks it up, and he's really chirpy. He says, "Hey, name of the dealership, how may I help you?" And I'm a little ticked off by that. It's almost 2 minutes, and I say, "Where the heck is my car, man?" And he starts fumbling. He asks me my name, my phone number, then the make and the year, not the make, but the model and the year, and finally finds my vehicle and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Lori's out to lunch." 3 minutes later, Lori's out to lunch. All I needed was a simple status of my car. How many of you guys have called your dealership between 4 and 6 in the evening? And what is the experience? Good? How many of you is excellent? Okay, I find one person who's raised his hand. And guess what? If you go to Nordstrom's, you get a personal shopper, right? That's only a $500 suit. If you go, how many of you are members of National Rent-A-Car, Emerald Isle, or Hertz Gold, or one of those? How easy is the experience? So everybody before me teed up this whole topic, right? Brian here said it was about value, transparency, and convenience. You got to stop looking at it from your point of view, right? You got to look at it from the point of view of the consumer. What's going on with the consumer? How reliable is a Toyota? Very reliable, right? Let me show you some statistics. Hopefully this is going to change. So 2013, J.D. Power dependability study, the lowest number of problems ever reported, right? You guys all have wonderful lobbies, coffee machines, Wi-Fi, a lot of facilities. But guess what happens when your guest leaves your dealership? They stop thinking about you because something else happens. And Peter talked about it, right? Consumer behavior has changed immensely, right? Everybody has a smartphone, 2 emails, text messaging. I looked at some statistics, like 45% of the US adult population has some kind of a social media site like Facebook or Google+, so they're active on that. Sports news, you read a newspaper. You don't have time. And guess what we do? We're competing with who? Joe's Automotive Garage down the street. What happens when you call Joe? Picks up the phone. When you show up, Joe meets you. Joe gives you the estimate. Joe repairs your car. Joe takes your payment. It's a personalized experience, right? Very tough to compete with that when you guys have 10, 20 service advisors, valets, greeters, BDC personnel, right? So if you think about it, this is really a tough experience. And I had it in 2010. So I thought, okay, before I come here, why don't I see if I can call one of the dealers on the East Coast and see what it sounds like. So this is what I did.
If you know the name of your party,
And I blanked out the
press
dealer's
star
name.
key for our voice recognition system. For service, press 1. For sales, press 2. For parts, press 3.
The
For
phone
the
too.
collision center, press 4. For
Dealership name is blanked out.
Thank you for calling
And I'm keeping on
service
hitting
department.
different
To
selections
schedule a
here.
service appointment, please dial 1. For other service concerns, please dial 2. For the body shop, please dial 3. To repeat this menu, please dial 4.
Now,
For
I'm going to hit
operator
a
assistance,
button somewhere
wait
here.
while I transfer your call.
Okay.
Welcome to the Manhattan Customer Assistance Center.
Now I'm back to
Your
the
call
customer
may be
assistance
monitored
center.
or recorded for quality
And
assurance
by the way,
purposes.
this is not abnormal, right?
You can now make
I
your
can say
service
this, and you
appointment
guys can
on the
verify
web.
this. I went
Visit us
to
today
Toyota
at-
Santa Monica when I was developing the product, and I looked
For
at
directions
20
on how
hours
to
of
use
who's
this
calling
feature,
code before we
press
developed the
1
product.
now.
70% of the calls are when and how much. Takes 2.5 to 3 minutes to get to a human, if that, or voicemail. 90% of the times, the call went to the wrong human. Now, how do you think your consumer feels when you do that? You spend. He goes to Joe's garage, right? So it's going to go into voicemail. I won't belabor this, but you guys get the point, right?
You have reached your voicemail, Elizabeth Colbert.
Okay, so next slide. So what's the problem, right? We're losing business to the aftermarket. We're making it extremely difficult to be reached. And then once they leave, we spend all these dollars. And I'm not suggesting those dollars are wasted, but you got to rebalance your portfolio, right? You know, the stock market tells you that you got to balance your portfolio all the time. Times have changed. Some stocks are good, some stocks aren't that good. So now you rebalance your portfolio. You got to put more money and more effort into what I call the customer interaction management space. Our tool is a customer interaction management tool, okay? And you can't keep staffing up and putting layers after layers after layers and running into these problems where nobody can get a hold of you. Let me also complete my story of the 2010 experience, right? So when I go back to the dealership to pick up my car, guess where I show up? I show up at the cashier, right? And I'm a little upset by that. So because nobody's called me, luckily my car was done. She pulls out the invoice, and of course the coupon was not applied. So here's another 20 minutes I spend there, you know, service manager to the cashier, please, service manager to the cashier, I get a comp. When you look at all these interactions, they're simple interactions, but there's so much friction involved in every interaction that at the first hint of trouble, the consumer is going to go away. And you can bet I did not buy another Honda after that, right? I have a Lexus, I don't have a Honda. So this is what happens, right? If you look at this, and I don't know if you guys can see it, we call this space the customer interaction management space. And this is where, when the customer is receptive to you, when is that? When the light on the dash goes on. There's maintenance. That's when you pick up that customer and treat them like kings or queens all the way through to when they get their checkout, right? Let's make checkout a lot easier. Let's not make it that hard. And then you can go ahead and rebalance your portfolio. You spend money here, but this is after they've left your store, right? You got to figure out, got to do effective digital targeting, just like Peter talked, right? So you got to look at what works, what doesn't work, and continuously evolve as the consumer evolves. Now with that, I'm going to give you an overview of my product. We have a simple 2-minute video. I'm going to step aside and play it.
Meet Gail. Gail dropped her car off for service at her dealership this morning. Now she's off with a million other things on her mind. Meet Joe, Gail's service advisor. Joe is trying to get Gail's car taken care of, but needs to get in touch with her concerning a service issue. But connecting with Gail is tough, especially to give her updates, request authorizations, etc. First, Joe tries to catch Gail at her office. Then he tries to call her on her cell. He finally tries communication through email, and then waits for a response. Then Joe discovers Kaarma, the cloud-based software that's revolutionizing the automotive service industry. Kaarma lets Joe text or call Gail with one recognizable service department number, or email Gail through the easy-to-use Kaarma platform on Joe's desktop. And all communication is logged within Kaarma for future reference. When Joe goes on break and Gail needs to get in touch with him, Kaarma's Follow Me technology sends the message to Joe's smartphone, even though he's not at his desk. Kaarma allows him to reply while capturing the message in the cloud. Or Joe could delegate Gail's communication to another service advisor while he's unavailable. Now, instead of Joe and Gail struggling to connect through phone tag, Joe can update and get authorizations from Gail in minutes. And when Gail's car is done, Joe sends Gail a payment request with an attached repair invoice through the Kaarma app to allow Gail to verify her repairs and pay on her smartphone, tablet, or PC without logging into a website before she comes in. Now, with Kaarma, there are no more lines or unanswered questions holding Gail up. Kaarma helped Joe get Gail through a simple and carefree service experience. Get Kaarma for your dealership.
So that's what our product does, basically. We've got some other stuff that we do with it. But I wanted to give you one statistic that occurred. When we were designing the product, we spent hours in the service drive talking to advisors. There's a Toyota term called Genchi Genbutsu, which means go to the place and see for yourself. We spent hours doing it. And we found a really interesting problem. It turns out that when you put a car on the lift, if you don't get an authorization in time, you have a big problem in your workshop, right? You got to take the car down. Most of the times, technicians don't get paid for it. So we benchmarked our service after we rolled it into pilot, and we found that, on an average, this store, Volkswagen Pasadena in LA, it used to take them 2.5 hours to get an authorization prior to us arriving. With our tool, this software, the time went down to 8.5 to 9 minutes. Okay, and I'm telling you this works. We've got hundreds of references. We're 18 months old. We're in 112 dealerships. We just got approved by Mercedes-Benz as the official tool that they're going to roll out through the whole network. So all of this works. Now, one thing I'm going to do right now, which is very risky, which is I'm going to try and do a little demo for you guys. If it doesn't work, we'll skip it. But, there's so many variables here. No, Peter already offered that, if anything doesn't work, just say it's Google's fault. I'm not going to do that. Okay, so what you're going to see here, my associate, who I should introduce, Kevin Farina, he's right here up front. He's our guest. I'm a service advisor, and I'm working with a company called Toyota of Silicon Valley, which is obviously a bogus company. But what we're going to do, and the way we work our software, is we give your fixed operations department one telephone number, just one. And all calls go to that number. All texts go to that number. And the reason we do that is we did some research and we found that the recall rate for consumers is so low as to your 800 numbers and all the other numbers and the business cards that you drop in their lap when they come in. And they come once every 6-7 months, right? And the number of times they're coming is keeping on getting increased. We thought if you could burn that number into their cell phone or their smartphone, they now have a direct connect with you. So what happens is the moment you check into the service drive and we open a repair order, you get an automatic text message which says, go ahead and save this number to call or text me. And that relationship is built with that one service advisor. So he just got the text message. That's a live phone here that he's got. The system just texted him, right? Now, imagine it's noon and I'm getting hectic and I want to know where my car's at. All he has to do is say, hey, Ooj. Now, the way we've designed our system is we pop up this little window right here, right? So it interrupts your life. Make sure that you can get back to the customer right away, right? And in the process, you take care of their communication needs. So what I'm going to do is just reply to him, say, muffler problem, and I'm going to be quick. Muffler problem, 10,000 to fix. Picture included, right? So here's what I'm going to do. I got a picture here. Open this up, choose a file, and I'll go to my downloads directory and type muffler. Hopefully I'll find it. There it is. So it's now attaching a muffler picture. And you can do a video, you can do anything you want, right? And once it's attached it, what will happen is I'll send a text message to him and say, you know, I need an authorization. So I'm going to say send. And I sent it. And I'm going to dismiss this message. I can snooze it. I can do whatever I want with it. But I'm going to dismiss and minimize this message, right? So now it's gone. It's my reminder window. It manages my communication. And the way this thing is designed is phone calls, emails, text messages all show up in one place. And this is like a mini routing sheet. So in the morning when you start off, all these one text messages go out for every customer. And you've got a whole conversation count right here. So he's got a picture of the muffler. He's going to look at it. And he sees there's a crack right there, right? And of course, $10,000 for a muffler, a little bit much. So what do you think he's going to do? He's going to negotiate, right? So he's going to send me a message saying, hey, $100 and it's a deal, right? Now, anytime that happens, right, basically I get notified. And I keep track of every customer. Those days of forgetting about a customer when you walked from your service drive to the technician or to the parts counter, by the time you came back, you've forgotten. You watch a service advisor, he's got yellow sticky notes all over, or she's got yellow sticky notes all over. Saves about an hour and a half a day if you use the tool properly, okay? So that being done, now the car's done, and the system is going to notify him the car's done and allow him to pay for it on his smartphone. And we're actually going to do a real live payment. And that's the test of Google. If the Wi-Fi works, it will happen. Yes, go ahead, sir. Yes. Well, that's not, it depends on the bar inspector, but it is legal. It's recognized by law, but we can take it offline and I can talk to you about it. We've got about 45, 50 dealers, some of the largest dealers in the country here on our system. I think it's legal. It's not getting away with it. It's legal. It's legal in California. Bar inspector just told me it wasn't like. Yeah, and you know, we could, I'll take it offline. I'll tell you why. Okay, all right. So he just got, you notice there, his car's ready, but he's going to go into his email, and I'll show you how the email also shows up. Email shows up. You can actually look at the email. You can look at your invoice. Guess how important that is to be able to tell if the invoice is right. If there's anything wrong with the invoice, you just reply to the email, this notifier is going to pop, and you're going to be able to fix it and send him out another payment request. So he's clicking to pay. He's looked at the invoice here. It looks right. It's $100. But then he finds that he wants to call me because he didn't want to pay the $100. He thought it was included in warranty, right? So when he does that, this is the phone, right, that's coded in there as the service advisor phone. So what that's going to do, it's going to ring my phone, and it'll notify the advisor that he's calling. So it tells me he's calling, and my phone is going to ring. If I have service here. Okay, and it's direct, no phone tree. Hey, Kevin, I'm not negotiating. Sorry, it's not a deal, you know. We made a deal. All right, you got that. 5 o'clock will be done. Now, the moment that is done, what's going to happen is right here, this finishes, and you get basically the recording. And it announced to me that your service advisor is calling. This call will be recorded for quality purposes. So I don't know how many of you guys have this situation. 6 o'clock, the husband comes to pick up the car. The wife said okay, or the wife comes to pick up the car. The husband said okay. And now, you know, you're looking like you're not trustworthy, but actually you are. And this is a voice recording, and you can play it right there. Look at it. I won't belabor this. He's going to make a payment. You don't need to stand in line at the cashier. The amount's verified. He's making a payment on his smartphone. We're introducing hoteling in another month, which means you swipe your card, we save the card. You don't even have to do all of that. You just put in your CVV, and you can pay. Did you pay? So he got his text receipt. He's going to get an email receipt too. Kevin, you may want to show the email receipt. And there's a record. They're going to file that into the folder which says Toyota Corolla 2010. And the next time they want, there's his receipt. And that looks very much like a receipt you might get at any modern store, right? Yes, go ahead, sir. Well, here's the key, right? Everybody has a unique phone number. Now, we do have logic, like if you call from Intel, that's a particular problem, we've got a dealer here. Intel uses one number to call out from your office. In that case, we just have logic that it'll go to either a reception. In most cases, it's one advisor that handles it and just passes it on. Yeah, single phone number. So we recognize your phone number as a consumer, right? So we can route you. The moment we see that number, we can route you. Our calling routes you to the right service advisor. And 6 months later, you can send a text message, and we can archive this conversation. We keep it around for 7 years, and it'll still come back to you. Dave here is a customer of mine, Dave Rocha right there. Magnuson Lexus, I forget which advisor, he was high-fiving me one day. 6 months later, his customer texts him. He asks about the 2 tires that were declined, how the wheel alignment's going, and he sells her 2 tires before she's even come into the store. And this is because every time they text you, if I even archive this for right now, like Kevin has done, and if Kevin were to send me back something, what will happen is it'll go right to the top, on top of all your messages. So you can go back and look at it and see what happened last time, if you have a discipline of sort of, and you'll find that traffic will move from phone calls to text messages.
How do you get the invoice up from DMS into?
So we integrate with 4 DMSs, ADP, Reynolds, DealerTrack, and Lightyear Dealer Build right now. And we're doing Automate as we speak. Our goal is never to have you do redundant data entry. But I'll be very honest with you, the DMSs don't keep everything open. So sometimes we have some delays and stuff like that. But it more or less is real time on just about every DMS. So with that being said, I think I'm getting very close to the end of my presentation. So if you guys just bear with me, I want to share some results, okay? And do you want to turn off your? Okay, so, how do you know this works? Well, here's what happened. When we did our first pilot, we picked 2 dealers. These are the 2 dealers. And we said, let's do a simple A/B study. So we took all the customers that came in, and anybody that did not come in more than once, we excluded that from the study. Anybody that was 2 customer pays or more, we looked at them and we said, okay, let's find the high Kaarma usage advisors and the low Kaarma usage advisors. And so if you look at Santa Monica, you'll find that it's 3 times more likely for a customer to come back when you're using Kaarma. And in the case of Pasadena, it's 4 times more likely for the customer to come back. So the population got auto-segmented because of the ease and the convenience of doing business and the transparency we afford with the payment process. And here are my key takeaways if you guys just want to think about this a little bit. You got to build a one-on-one relationship. Got to get notified real time of any changes that happen, and then make it easy to review, pay your invoice before the customer comes into the store. With that, I don't know if we have any time for Q&A. Yes, sir.
My question has 2 parts. Number 1 would be, how will we get notified if the customer pays? And
Okay.
the most important one, and I'm sure everybody in here wants to know, is how much?
Oh, God. The how much question I'll put for later. I'll show you my contact. I don't want to spend time. It depends on the size of the store. That's the honest answer. But the first one is, what happens is whenever anybody pays, we pop this notifier right here at the service advisor's desk. The receipt gets copied to as many people as you like. Most of the times you put it to the cashier, the bookkeeper, sometimes the service managers, in some cases even the owners get copies. And at the end of the day, you get a closing report at 11 p.m., which will show you every advisor, their payments, subtotal, which will match up to the deposits in your bank so you can reconcile real easy. A side effect of that was the bookkeepers love us. It really reduces their workload. And your pricing question, I have my contact data right here. If you guys want, or I can give you my business card. We need to know a little bit more about your store.